And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in our beautiful Facebook world, our social media world, on this amazing planet. Thank you so much for joining us today for our very interesting, wonderful panel discussion on having the courage to be fearless, which is, like I said, it's a very interesting topic, even courage and fearlessness. How we can navigate life when there's so many things that come up in our lives that we may experience a bit of fear over, but how we can overcome that today. So with us today, we have a beautiful panel, a wonderful panel that I am honoured to be able to talk to have this discussion. And let me introduce our wonderful panelists. And I'm just bringing up all their information. To start with, of course, I'm Sophia Soul. I have the honour again of co-creating our sacred community, which we'll tell about in at the end. But more importantly, our panelists. And with us, we have our beautiful Katerina.
Hi.
Thank you, Katerina, who's joining us from South Australia in Adelaide. And Katerina is an evolutionary life coach, a mentor, a quantum light master, and an activator who is working with the universal life energy to raise the frequency for humanity and planet Earth, which I really, really experience. Every couple of weeks, Katerina comes live into our Facebook to share her beautiful light language and is offering all other courses on connecting with ourselves, activating our higher frequencies, which we will put in all the links. And just very quickly, Katerina is the owner and creator of Be Your True Self, a safe place where you can explore your inner world without fear and judgment. What a wonderful thing. So welcome, Katerina. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me. This conversation is going to be lots of fun too.
It is. Thanks
Definitely. For having me.
Not a problem. And then we have the amazing Roger. Again, and Roger's tuning in from somewhere on the other side of the planet. Where are you tuning
in from?
Los Angeles. I'm
in Hollywood, yes.
You're in Hollywood. I remember that now. Thank you. And Roger, you're an intuitive empowerment life purpose coach. You are also a sage, a mystic, and a spiritual channel, which we do want to know more about at the end too. You can tell us about that and what you do with everything in that. So you began your coaching career in voice and performance more than 35 years ago, but started your personal and spiritual development journey long before that. Roger brings a wealth of experience and knowledge to all of his work and dedicates his life to aiding others in becoming the best version of themselves as empowered people. So again, Roger, I'm really glad that you're joining us for the panel discussion today, because I think you've definitely got a lot of experience in that, in overcoming fear. Thank you. And our beautiful Soulara, really, who's joining us from Atlanta, I think.
Yes,
remember?
Atlanta.
And you're an empath. Soulara is an empath, a Reiki master and teacher, and an oracle and founder of Soul Reiki. Soulara strives to support the transformation, healing, and expansion of souls by transmuting energy blocks that make people feel that they are enough. And I love this, Soulara. I love it that they are not enough, right? So you transmute the energy blocks that make people feel that they are not enough. But I love the anagram for enough. Exquisite, notable, one of a kind, unmatched, genius, and hero. Love it.
Thank you.
And we want to find out more about what you offer at the end too. And last but not least, our beautiful Sue Rumack, who's tuning in from Canada. So we do have a global panel today, which is wonderful. And Sue, not only is Sue the host of the Life Force Activators Tribe as part of our sacred community, but Sue helps highly sensitive professionals who suffer with empathic sensitivities and sensory overwhelm. Oh my God, is that such a big thing in the world today? And spiritual confusion. And helps people to rewrite how they negotiate the worlds in which they live, so they take back the driver's seat and begin to love the power they have, and that they make their lives their own. Love it. And you've been a professional for over 16 years, a lifelong channeler of healing messages for mankind, author of 5 spiritual books and multiple handbooks, and do your own manuals for managing personal and professional overwhelm. So for anyone out there who is having any fears and overwhelmment of fears, Sue is the person to come and talk to. So definitely recommend that. And again, we will be putting the links of everyone in the comments. And if you have any questions or anything that you would like to add to our panel, please do pop them in the comments. I'm just going to make sure I can check everything out while we are talking. All good. So thank you. All right. So let's start our conversation today. And let's start up by, what I'd like to know is, what does it mean? What does it really mean to have courage to be fearless? What does that bring up for you? So who would like to start? Who am I going to ask? Soulara, what about your beautiful self? What does it mean for you? Have the courage to be fearless.
Well, that is such a powerful question, especially in today's time with all of the challenges that we face over the last few years globally. And so for me, courage is really about strength. It's about having an awareness of that you matter, that you have enough in you, as my mom used to say. You have enough in you. There's enough divine energy that can inspire you to do greatness that you came here to this planet to do. So you have to make a decision to be courageous. As I said, there's a lot of things that have been happening on the planet. And if we're tuned into those frequencies, we get off track. We're not as grounded in our enoughness and our divinity. And so we kind of find a way to shy away from standing in that truth. So it's more about awareness, commitment, and that decision to dig deep and really embody that divinity that you have that makes you unique, and you can spread that goodness across the world.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. To embody our divinity. And I think when we do that, then that brings automatic, the courage. It's automatic because we step into our power. So thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. And what about Roger? What's your take on, what does it mean to have the courage to be fearless?
It's quite funny. I said just before I came on here, see, the universe is quite perfect. It had me find this video that I had actually recorded several months ago, I think in November or something. And it said, there is no imposter syndrome. And because that's the thing that we hang on to. What happens is the courage means stepping into the next version of who we're supposed to become. And we're never done with that. We're always moving into that next place. And that would have us go into some uncertainty. And as Soulara was saying, what's happened in the world over the last several years, there's been so much of it because the entire planet is trying to ascend. So people are feeling out of place. Who am I becoming? What is that? And I say that because this particular video, I obviously hid it away somewhere. I didn't, because it was never published, and I just found it and put it out there. And this is exactly the kind of thing that we're doing. Wait a minute, is this me? Is this who I'm supposed to become? And that is developing the courage just to become our authentic selves.
Mm-hmm. Love that too. And again, it's just part of the process that we are. That we're living in, and just taking that step, as you said, stepping into the best version and knowing that it's all there, that we do have that courage to do things. So thank you. And for you, Katerina, is there anything else that you would like to share, a different take on what does it mean to have courage to be fearless?
Oh, what does it mean? It means to have the courage to stand in the shadow when it turns up so you can deal with the issues that arise within your physical human life without wanting to leave the body and go to another planet, for example, and not deal with the humanness, because it's really important to finding the courage to embody your high self wisdom in the physicality of where you are, and the courage automatically is created because you're learning your process of how it works for you. So you become more self-empowered, you create more confidence, and then you can lead by example by the courage that you've just created, because you had your aha moment, because you sat with your shadow, you became fearless and looked at it sincerely and honestly, and just discovered that it's just a little aspect of you that hasn't been dealt with. And that's what's important too, to embody all the universal energies and downloads that we're getting right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and to have the courage to stand into our shadows. Yes, and to use, and to use that energy, that power, that opportunity to step into our best version that everyone else has been saying so too. So thank you. Okay. All right, now Sue, last but not least, what about you? What does it mean for you to have the courage to be fearless?
I believe that we are all given opportunities every day to face the fears that have held us stuck most of our lives, the embedded patterns, the embodiments of trauma, of fear, of loss, of shame, of guilt. And I believe that we are a crystalline structure. Mm-hmm. And there are many facets to ourselves. So when I think about what it takes to be fearless, to step into my courage, I sometimes go back to my earliest challenges and say to myself, what was it that I did then that pushed me to the next level of being courageous? Mm-hmm. And we all have those places that we can refer to. I think sometimes people believe that you have to embrace a whole new you to move forward. And at times I believe we need to embrace who we've always been, and bring the best of ourselves, of that piece, into being courageous. So it's a learning process. It's a flow. It's an ease that we have to give ourselves permission to be fearless, even when we are scared to death down to our toenails that we are not going to survive this thing. We have angels, we have guides, and we can always refer to them and go, so what do I do right now? And then whatever comes up, as long as it isn't going to kill you, give it a shot, because they know better than we do some days. Fearlessness for me and courage, I don't know, it's something I seem to have lived with all my life. It was like when the bully kid would try to pound on me, and I'd go, I don't think so. And I was like that much shorter than they were. Like they were here and I was here, and I don't think so. So I think for me, when I think about being fearless in the face of courage, needing that courage, it's that little kid me just standing there looking up and thinking, I don't think so. So that's just down to earth stuff from me, not the metaphysical.
Yeah. And it's so real, is just having that courage to stand up to other people, but to also for the opportunities, the situations that coming, as Katerina was saying about our shadows and all the dark stuff, all the things. It's just to have the courage to step into that and to be who you are. So thank you. And can we continue with you, Sue? Because I definitely want to come back to courage, but let's have a conversation a little bit about fear. What does fear mean? And is there, what role does fear play in our lives? And is there healthy fear or an unhealthy fear? And how do we know the difference?
Yes. I think I'd like to start with the last one first. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say starting with Roger or starting with me?
No, with you. Then we'll.
All right. So I'd like to take a look at healthy fear and unhealthy fear. And yes, there is definitely a difference. Healthy fear is when you you look at you look at the thing, whatever it is that's got you scared to death, and you ask yourself, do I have options? And when you begin to put together a little bit of a plan around managing that fear, you begin to take it apart. It doesn't look as big. It's got multiple pieces, and maybe some of those pieces are more fearful for you than others. So when you create a plan, that's a healthy way of managing fear. The unhealthy fear is that knee-jerk panic reaction that either sends you into freeze, where you can't do anything, and you're just totally lying there with your hands over your head and your bum in the air going, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. And not being able to move out of that place of being stuck. So unhealthy fear is where you don't push past the energetic overwhelm that's taking over your body, taking over your nervous system, taking over your brain. And there are ways to manifest moving out of that. And it's basically brain science that helps you to move past unhealthy fear. Healthy fear is having a plan, taking it apart. And it doesn't matter how quickly that fear slapped you up the side of the head. It could be something that just, something happened, an old pattern basically slipped into place, and you're going, oh God, oh God, oh God. But wait a minute, there's a plan. And I think I created something years ago, and I think it was called the Magic of 7. And I think I did that when my mom died. And we got the news that she was gone. And in the first 7 seconds, you are numb. Your brain completely shuts down. In the next 7 minutes, you turn back on again and you formulate a plan. What can I do? What am I going to do next? Which foot am I going to put in front of the other? And then for the next week, you fine tune that plan. And then for the next, so you're getting rid of parts of it that don't work and putting in new ones. And then in the last part of it, the next 7 months, you're actually living the plan and proving to yourself every day that you can get through the next day. So there's healthy fear, there's unhealthy fear, there are plans, and there's a process. So I think I've probably taken up my 3 minutes to answer this. I know you had 5 questions. You had 5 questions to ask me, but
that's okay. But thank you, and thank you for sharing that. And I love your the plans and the 7 seconds, because it's so true. When something happens to us, our brain does shut down straight away. But then it's like what we do.
But it only shuts down for 7
seconds. Yes.
But those 7 seconds seem like they're forever.
Ever.
Yeah.
And then we start to process things and things. So I love it. Thank you for sharing that. And I hope everyone who's watching is taking lots of notes, because this is some really good stuff that's coming out of here. Okay, so thank you, Sue. So is there anyone else? Let's just open up. Roger, Katerina, Soulara.
So I wrote a book on fear. It's this
Wow.
Overcoming
Perfect.
Fear.
Oh, wow.
I released this in 2019. And like Sue, I classified them, because I suffered from so much fear my entire life. I mean, I was shut down so much. And when I started channeling, receiving information, I could see that I was receiving so many messages specifically dealing with fear. So I said, okay, I've got to write a book. Let me put that out, because I also was very afraid of doing that. So then I started talking about, there are 2 classifications. There's real fear and artificial fear, meaning real fear is just something that's going to kill you or hurt someone else. That's something that gives you caution and pause. Everything else is something we made up. And we just got to decide if we're going to move through it, if we're going to embrace it and do that. That's all that it is. Now, it may not be something, and especially if it's something we really want to do, we have to question, why am I stopped? And then, as Sue also said, it's like this is mindset work about changing. We have to understand our neuroscience. Okay, we have some patterns that have been there, and we have to start to just gently move into that higher state of awareness or consciousness. So, yeah, and they can be helpful, because sometimes the fear becomes so uncomfortable, you got to do something. Then you get pushed to go and do something to just alleviate it, So.
Yeah, love it. And we'll definitely be putting more things about your book too. I hope it's still, it is available.
Yes.
For your website and everything else, definitely. We will be putting those links in. Thank you for that, Roger, and for sharing that. Okay, and Soulara or Katerina, do you have anything that you'd like to share on, how can we distinguish between healthy fear and unhealthy fear? And is it really necessary? Is fear really necessary to have in our lives?
Well, that's a really good question. Is it necessary? Well, some people say yes, some people say no. What I would like to add is, if the healthy fear is when, say, you're driving and you want to turn right, but your intuitive nature sparks up the fear within you and saying, no, don't go there. It's the being fearless and the courage to say, okay, I'm listening, and not go there. So that's the challenge, isn't it, that we have every day. So that would be a healthy fear, right? So the healthy fear would be a warning and so on. So we cannot entirely get rid of the ego and all that stuff. What we can do is learn to work with it, negotiate with it, sit with it. The unhealthy fear, well, there's so much unhealthy fear going on right now. How do we know what the difference is? The unhealthy fear will limit you, will tell you that you're not any good, that you can't go, that you can't do this, that you can't write that book, that you can't do, that you can't, right? So that's the unhealthy fear. The unhealthy fear is something that does make you physically, emotionally freeze, because your body just wants to stop, right? That's unhealthy fear. The healthy fear in that would be, you just sit with it and you start to say, I am worthy of all the love in the world. You start to create words and language that helps you to understand what's going on in the moment. You say, okay, so you're in my life, fear. So how can we negotiate a way to help each other? It's like a negotiation, a relationship. And once we are able to have that type of healthy relationship with our fear, it will work for you, actually. I'm finding it works for you. So I help my clients communicate with the shadow so they can have a healthy relationship with the shadow, because within the shadows are your treasures. So the healthy fear will make you feel nervous. If you feel nervous about something that you're just about to do, I would suggest that you feel the excitement of it, because it's going to be bigger than you. It's going to be a lot more than you know right now. And that's healthy fear, right? That's the nervousness, oh my gosh, should I be doing it? And then you do it, and then suddenly the universe opens up for you and gives you everything that you need emotionally and mentally so you can accomplish it. The unhealthy fear, well, that's where you have to find the courage and be fearless to sit with it and say, okay, I'm not afraid of you anymore, but let's talk about what you and I can do to help each other. Yeah. It's exhausting, I know, but that's the process, right?
And it is, and it's all part of our journey. So thank you for sharing that and for seeing the difference on the healthy fear and the unhealthy fear, and how it actually impacts how we can use that in our lives. So thank you for sharing that. And Roger, I do have to apologize. I did accidentally mute you. Soulara, what about your beautiful self? Have you had any experiences in your life too that you'd like to share about the difference with healthy fear and unhealthy fear, and how has that affected your life?
Well, I'd like to bring a perspective that's right in between the healthy and the unhealthy fear. Everyone here has done a wonderful, just gave wonderful examples of how to differentiate between the two. Well, what if fear is just forgetting energy alchemizes reality?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of false evidence appearing real, we're just forgetting that our energy frequency alchemizes our reality. So it's neither good nor bad. So what we have to do is tap into the awareness of, why am I feeling this resistance with this particular circumstance? And coming into that awareness that there's a resonant frequency of creating the reality that we really desire. And I learned a long time ago that it's not personal, it's just frequency. We get to certain points in our life where we say, man, things are just not working the way they used to. And I know for me, I would say like my golden years were in high school and the first part of college where I could visualize something and I had a 2-week span and boom, it'll show up. And then as I got older, I was just like, wait a second, what happened? Like, am I doing something wrong? Because things weren't happening the way that they were. And then I realized it's not personal, it's just frequency. And I had to go inside myself and understand that this is about attraction, this is about co-creation. And the universe will just supply you with the matching or corresponding frequency. And so if we can just remember that that's what fear is, forgetting energy alchemizes reality, we can just remember our toolkits, what we can pull out of them. Is it Reiki? Is it meditation? Is it some neuroscience techniques that we can use to rebalance how our brain is functioning and really connect with who we really are? And that's why my passion is really about embracing that enoughness and understanding our just divine nature. And if we can really hone in on that and focus on that and clear those blockages and really strengthen that connection, then we can have our frequency elevated and just really start attracting those situations, circumstances, and people that really resonate with what we want out of life. So for me, it's just neither good nor bad or healthy or unhealthy. It's just we have to remember the power that we have in us, and we have to remember that it's about frequency, energy, and vibration.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, what a wonderful, anagram that forgetting energy alchemizes reality. And it's all about our vibration. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And can we go into that a little bit deeper? And I'd love to know, do you have any specific strategies or techniques that people can use to remember what fear is and how we can overcome the fear and starting to embrace our inner courage?
I like something that Roger said earlier, and I wrote it down. He said, there's no such thing as imposter syndrome. A lot of us in this healing space, we're like, wait a second. Like, oh, yes, there is. We've all kind of felt this feeling of, oh my gosh, like, am I a fake person out here trying to, show myself as one thing, but I'm feeling all of this lack of, self-confidence and things inside of us. And it's an awareness thing. It's an awareness, and it just really goes back, in my opinion, to that divine nature that we have, understanding that we're all connected. And where does this connection stem from? What are we all connected to? And it's just that divine energy and understanding that all things are possible. And it gets into affirmations as well as another tool. We have to just kind of come into the awareness that we're not pursuing whatever that goal may be or that opportunity, and kind of, Katerina said it too, go into that shadow self, go into that space of, okay, I'm not moving forward. Why is that? And for me, it's about journaling. It's about writing down and really going deeper into myself. And is there something that's unresolved from childhood? Is there something that I haven't looked at or something that I haven't unblocked? And so getting grounded again in who you are. So journaling, meditation, and it's not going to be easy. That's why we're all here, with our different specialties and expertise, and guiding people, being that support system, because it can be a bit scary. It can be a bit daunting, especially if it's something that we haven't dealt with for a period of time. But I believe that once we are able to delve into that and just really embrace it, figure out what the root cause is. And sometimes it's just as simple as sitting with it. Sometimes we don't have to necessarily do anything. It's just coming into awareness of it and letting it kind of heal itself. Going deeper, where did this come from? Why did I feel this way? Am I something outside of divine nature? And the answer is always no. We are not, what the world views us, as. We are not anything outside of divine nature. We've had experiences that would try to tell us, oh, you failed, or you're not a good person, or you should have done this, you should have done that. But that's not our true nature. So just really embracing that, like I said, journaling, going into those shadow spaces, as Katerina mentioned, and then having those truths. I like what Roger said about that. There is no imposter syndrome. I'm gonna stick with that, Roger. That was important, to just have that awareness and to say, if that's true, then when I feel the way that I feel, let me go deeper into that, because we are divine in nature.
Yes, yeah, we are, and definitely love to agree with you that we are divine, and everything that you're saying is so very powerful, and how we can just keep going into all those feelings. So thank you for sharing that. Now, who else? Can we go to Sue? What about you? Do you have any techniques that you can help people to overcome fear and things? So you are muted, Sue. And then we'll get to Roger and Katerina too.
I said, I do, and you knew I do. You know I do. Okay, so my specialty is working with empaths and HSPs. And we all know that empaths and HSPs pick up on a lot of energy from the people around them, a lot of thought energy, a lot of feeling energy, a lot of charisma energy, a lot of embodied energy. And oftentimes when we feel fear, I mean, really great fear, we need to ask ourselves, the very first question we have to ask ourselves is it mine?
Yeah.
Because quite often we are absorbing other people's fear, other people's experiences. And what we feel in our bodies fools us into thinking that it's actually ours, when in fact, it's an early warning alert that our limbic brain system, our survival brain, sends energetically to certain parts of our bodies to grab our attention and say, there's somebody at the door, it's theirs, not yours. You just need to be aware of it so you can take care of you, or you can do something to help take care of them if that's your business. Once we ask, is it mine? The answer is going to come back embodied. It's going to come back somewhere in your body very clearly, yes or no. And trust the yes or no, because it's your body talking, and your body never lies. Then you ask, okay, if it's mine, is it true? If it's theirs, is it true? A yes or a no is going to come back, and you deal with whatever that is. The next part of the process is, what don't I know about this already? What's new for me in this feeling? And you wait for the answers to come through, because your angels, your guides, whoever they are, your body, your brain, your history, something will tell you what it is that you didn't already know about this. And that's where your power lies, is what didn't I know about this before this moment? And once you have that piece really solid in the palm of your hand and you feel it in your gut, then the next thing you ask yourself is, now that I know this, what will I do differently? What will I change? And how will that change my life going forward? And that's the process. I've been doing this work for 16 years. I've been helping empaths and HSPs find their way through fear to become courageous. And I even called one of my most favorite website, which I'm just transitioning out of, is Courageous Path. It's called Courageous Path.
Courageous Path.
Yeah, it's called Courageous Path.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people have been doing with me all these years, is finding their courageous path. Yeah. So that's my process. Is it mine? Is it true? What don't I know about this? Or what didn't I know about this until now? And what am I going to do now that I do know this? That's my process.
Love it. Love it. We will get all those down too. And for people who want to know more about the process, definitely contact Sue. Absolutely. Thank you. Love all those steps.
Pleasure.
All right, thank you. And Katerina, what about yourself? How do you help your clients overcome fear and their shadow?
Oh, what I do is I introduce you to your shadow. We create a name, we create a keyword, and I hold space for you to create a loving relationship with your shadow so you can have a conversation. Because we all don't want to feel alone, right? We all want to feel that we are. The shadow part of you, is the part of you that has been pushed under the bed or under the carpet for most of your life or even past lives. And now what's happening is the energetics that we're receiving is so clean, it's cleaner, it's pulling it out of the carpet. Do you know what I mean? It's bringing it up to the surface. And that's why you're all feeling that little knock or that anxiety or the, oh my God, what's happening to me? Because your higher self you have agreed to allow your high self to go into the depths of where your shadow is. And what I do is I hold space for you so you can have an argument, so you can say, well, this isn't fair. Why should I be doing this, right? And then what you do is you journal, like Soulara was saying, or I will help you to sit there and have a physical conversation saying, well, I don't like this. And I teach you to say, well, what can I do now to help myself? What is my wisdom in this? Now, the courage and the fearlessness of that process is that I will have you celebrate that moment because you're acknowledging that moment. You're taking it out of the shadow, right? You're acknowledging yourself for having the courage to face yourself, right? Because that's what we need to be fearless about, facing ourselves, no matter what we look like. Because externally, there's so much going on that it creates the monsters to make us be fear. So I hold space for you to look at that fear and say, well, what can I do today for you and I to help each other so I can become courageous enough to understand that I am celebrating you right at this moment because you are helping me to become aware that there is something wrong and I need to fix it. So we need to celebrate that, right? Okay. We need to celebrate that with our clients, make them feel that they're accomplishing something. And then next thing you know, they've done it and they don't even know they've done it. And they have this aha moment and they're glowing and they're crying and they're doing all these things. The next minute, something comes into their life. So then I show them how to bring love into that space that they've just cleaned out, because it's important to bring that self-love into that space that you've just cleaned out. So I use the metaphor as, now we're going to go into your energetic house and let's go and look into the laundry where it's so filled up with clothes and so on. Let's go in there and clean it up. So that's how I do it. That we create like a house of sorts and cleaning it all up. Yeah, and we need to celebrate that that's what they're doing, right? We need to celebrate and tell people that I celebrate you for even having the courage to look at yourself, because the world externally doesn't want you to, because that means, oh, God forbid, that you're going to become a better person, right? I love that and so much, and thank you for sharing that, and especially, about celebrating that we have the courage, celebrating that we want to look at our fears and to become fearlessness, and whether they're, the unhealthy fears and the healthy fears that keep motivating us. So thank you for that. And Roger, I've left you for last because I'd love to go more into this, that there's no such thing as the imposter syndrome. And how does that relate to, being fearlessness? And I don't know, we do have people who are watching us, and we've also got Jess who's joined us. And Jess, just to let you know, if you've got any questions, please, you're welcome to come on camera or just pop them in the chat if you have anything to say. But can we start, Roger, just very first, for you, what is the imposter syndrome and why, and why doesn't it exist, or how come it doesn't exist, if that makes sense? Because a lot of people...
Yes. Because when we are consciousness, we're all complete consciousness. And so when we have a thought about something, we wouldn't have it unless it was part of who we're supposed to become. It was part of our DNA. And so we have to acknowledge that we're having that thought because we're being guided by wherever we think of that as our guides, our angels, higher self, whatever someone uses. But we wouldn't have the thought of it unless it was something that we were meant to fulfill our purpose. But then we'll talk about other things, and we can throw out things like past lives and all of that. And a lot of people say, I don't understand what that means. Don't know what that is. Then when you just think about consciousness always exists. One of the most important messages that I received was about infinite intelligence. Like, you all have it. It's always available. It's there. You just allow how much you're going to accept. And then there are processes that we have to understand we're all moving through, that it's a higher level of awareness or consciousness that is going to be very unique to our individual journeys. We have individual life paths we're meant to follow, and they're not going to look like anyone else's. And that can bring up a whole bunch of fear also, because we're feeling like the odd person out, but that's what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be a unique being, but that embodying that is the journey that we always go through. One of the fascinating messages that I received, and I'm still dealing with it, when I sit down and receive messages, it's just gets me sometimes. It says, the irony of life is that you will discover that you move through your life attempting to be someone else, to come to the end of your life just to discover you were just trying to become yourself. That's it.
Yeah. Love it. We spend all our lives trying to be someone else just to come to the end that we're just wanting to be ourselves. Love that. Love that. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Just want to give a very quick shout out to people who are watching, including Joe Irwin, who is loving the conversation. Thank you for joining us, Joe. And if you have any questions, anything else, do pop them in the comments. And like I said, Jess, please feel welcome that if you want to add anything to our conversation, you can. And we are coming up, can you believe it? We're already well into our more than halfway into our conversation. So let's go back to, we've talked about fear and how to overcome it. And so let's talk about courage, and really, is there anything else that people can do? What other steps can people do to really cultivate that sense of courage, that sense of fearlessness, but having, to really develop the courage? Is there anything else that anyone would like to share?
I want to throw in one other thing. This is piggybacking off of what something Soulara said, because I want my clients to always understand this too. Sometimes we will have fears that don't make any sense, that we don't know why we're having them. And that could be something that has been in our DNA that we don't remember from our childhood or something else. And so we become so hard on ourselves sometimes when we have this difficulty moving beyond it, not understanding that it might have been embedded, that it was programmed, that it was there. And we have to do, whatever modalities we might use to move beyond that. And we all use something a little different, but just understanding the process is of moving to that next place of who you're supposed to become. And we know that not everyone does that. Otherwise, they would all be living wonderful, exciting lives. But we have to become willing to take those steps to that next version of ourselves. So, and just understand, we give ourselves a little bit of a break when we can accept that, okay, maybe some of this I didn't create myself. Maybe I inherited, maybe I brought it into the world. So, okay, now let me try to move beyond that.
And stuff to let it go. And it's people, coming to see you and everyone else, and Katerina and Soulara and Sue and everyone else who's able to help us to move beyond that, especially the things that we don't know. There is stuff that we might go out and we all of a sudden we've got a fear of whatever it is, fear of dark alleys, fear of dogs, fear of things, and you don't know where that is, where that's coming from. So, the good news is that we are able to overcome them and move out. And so, Sue, what about yourself? Is there anything else that you want to add to actually really develop courage? Because, well, first of all, what I'd like to ask, is courage an inherent quality that we're all born with? Or is it something that we really do have to learn?
Good question. That actually is the perfect question.
Mm-hmm.
Are we born with courage, or is it something we have to learn? I love what Roger just said, and I love what everybody has said. And when he piggybacked off of Soulara, and Katerina has the right idea too of celebration. But I think that, are we born with it? We have to have been born with it, because we would never have survived conception and growing through the whole fetal stage to become a full human being, and then being born. You had to have courage to go down that birth canal and come out the other end. But I think what happens is that, yes, the answer to my way of thinking is yes, we are all born with incredible courage. We bring that courage from our previous lifetimes, our previous incarnations. We bring it from the angels that we were before we came back to this life. So it is embedded in our DNA, along with the trauma that we may have experienced as we grew through childhood. So that's our challenge, is to come back to our inherent courageousness. And when we are stuck in that fear that doesn't allow us to be courageous, we go back to our memories. We go back to our memory archive, which is held in our survival brain. And we ask, show me a time when I was faced with something similar to this. Maybe I did it really well. Maybe I didn't. But for this moment, show me everything I did right in that experience. Those will be my opening steps to get through this experience. So it's as if I'm holding my own hand to get me to the next steps. And then my guides and angels will take me the rest of the way if I just ask. That's been my experience in life.
In your experience.
It's been my experience in life. And I've had some pretty scary places that I've been, just like all of us.
Yeah.
So that's my shortest answer, to give everybody else a bit of a chance to give their answers. But it's also where I take my clients.
Mm-hmm.
When they come to that place in our conversations, and my clients are all over the world. So cultures are very different. And you can't ask the questions in the same way because of the cultures that people come from.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when they are stuck in this fear place and they need to re-access their courage, I ask them to go back into that place and ask, what was similar? What happened to me that was similar? What were the things that I did that worked? What was right? What did I do right? And then build off of that. So we're giving ourselves permission to be kind to ourselves and compassionate with ourselves when we're in that place of no courage, so that we can come back to it. And that's it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And it's wonderful because, that we're born with that inherent courage, and it's just our life experiences that cover us up. While you're still with us, Sue, we do have a couple of questions very quickly from the audience. And I apologize for people that it is a bit late because I'm just seeing them now. And Joe would like to know, what is HSP?
HSP is an acronym for highly sensitive person. And it was coined by psychiatrists as a way of being able to get paid through insurance because it's a clinical diagnosis. The HSP is so almost identical to an empath, a person who feels everything from everything around them. It embodies into their bodies. They feel those sensations and they absorb everybody's happiness, joy, and their fears and their anxieties and their pain. So an HSP is highly sensitive, an empath is highly sensitive. You pick up everything from the whole world.
Thank you. And Joe's also saying, great question. I guess the fact that we had the courage to grow and travel through the birth canal and be here takes courage. Absolutely. Totally unbelievable. So thank you for that. All right. And Katerina, what about for you? What are some other steps? And well, first of all, is courage inherent, or is it something that we have to learn? And how do we do that?
Well, I feel I had to learn how to be courageous, because I woke up at 14 years old in a dark place and I thought, oh my gosh, okay, what am I going to do now? So I went seeking out for my courage and my fearlessness. So my intuition was my courage, right? I moved through my life knowing deeply within myself there was somewhere I had to be, and I've arrived, right? Here I am. But I had to develop my courage muscle because I wasn't given the skills as a human being to be courageous. I didn't have mentors or anything like that. So I had to go in there fall on my knees and walk on my hands and knees and go, right, okay, I've got to go really deep now and find my courage. So what I've learned is the courage is about knowing that you are a powerful human being. That's the courage, because we're in a world we're not being encouraged to be courageous enough to say, I am a powerful human being. I can manifest whatever I want, and I can have the life that I want, because externally we're not given those skills, right? We're not. So my courage comes from knowing deeply within my own intuition that I had to get somewhere. No matter what that looked like, no matter who I was with, I went through it. So I held myself, like you hold yourself. You say, okay, I'm a powerful human being at 14 years old. What's that going to look like? Oh my God, I'm going to freak out now, right? So the other thing is courage. You're already courageous because you came to this planet, first of all, right? Let me make that very clear. And your guidance, I know my guidance and my Blue Diamond team and who I'm connected with always say to me, you're such a courageous human being. And because you understand your process, we're going to help you. And that's what I want everyone to remember. Your courage brings your fearlessness, brings your teams closer to you, so you can feel the empowerment within your own human life, so you can manifest the life that you want. And it's a process, yes, and you're not going to like it all the time, but hang on to your intuition, because your intuition is the GPS, the courage, the fearlessness that will move you through everything that you need to do.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And while you were talking, that just went straight into my heart. So
oh yeah, my
I
heart
could
just
feel
opened up there too.
Yeah, I know. Thank you. And it's such a powerful is, just to be the courage, having that courage to be who you are, and to be here on this earth.
Yeah.
Totally.
And can I just say, there's a waiting list to come to the planet, let me tell you. There are beings all over the galaxy that want to come and be human, because being human is the courageous and the fearless energy that the universe holds, right? Yeah. So I applaud everybody. Takes courage to be who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. And Soulara, what about you? For you, is courage something that we have to learn, or are we born with it? And how do we develop it? As we wrap up.
Well, first, I'd just like to respond to Katerina, your last statement about the waiting list for souls to come to this planet. I'm just getting chills in my body. As an empath, I just felt that. It gives a different perspective going forward with how to look at challenging situations. Like Roger was saying, you wouldn't be here embodied as a human if you weren't supposed to be here with the purpose, the passion, the gifts. So we can do this, right? Mm-hmm. We're okay. We can do this. And I like how Sue was saying, everybody's been through certain situations, and certain situations will still come, but we can do this. We can tune in and tap in. So I just want to share that was very important, what you mentioned. And then I actually wrote down something that you said, Katerina, about coming to this planet. It was very courageous for all of us to say, you know what, I'm going to choose this family to go into. I'm going to be embodied in this form. And like it's almost like a list that we check off of what we decide to choose to be when we come here. So that was very courageous. The whole process of getting in these lineages and embodying these genes, whether it be physical or epigenetic, like there's a lot that we actually took on to come here. And then to say we want to make a difference, right? We want to, help people. We want to serve. So if that's not courageousness, I don't know what is. So with that being said, I do think that it's inherent in us. And I always talk about that divine connection that we are. So yes, it's very courageous. So we do embody that. But the problem is once we get here, we are introduced to certain circumstances and traumas and things that make us forget that we can do this. Katerina was saying that that support system is not quite there at different points and times in our lives. And that's why we have to have different organizations, such as this beautiful organization here with Sophia and Sacred You, like feeling like we come here and we can talk, we can understand one another, we can hold space for one another and exchange wisdom. That's very important to feel embodied in courage. And I just believe that courage is a strength to really venture out and persevere when in the face of challenges, in the face of this so-called reality. It's only less than 1% of reality is what we see when we look at the visible light spectrum. So to have the courage to push beyond that and to see that what we really desire and who we are, as Roger was saying, and who we're becoming, we might not be able to see that yet, but it's there. We just have to push through when everything in the reality is saying that that's not so. Right? Awesome. So to me, it's embodying courage as a lifelong process. It's not like I got to courage and now I'm there. I can take my hat off and I've arrived at courage. No, it's a lifelong process. We're steadily picking up tools and being able to learn and expand and grow. And as the different challenges come, we have a way to address them. And so for me, it's more of a stay ready. And you stay ready just by connecting with like-minded people, pursuing the different gifts and talents and abilities on higher levels, more development in what we came to do and who we are. And just each of you here tonight, it's just wonderful to see the different ways that we can serve the global community. So it's all about growth and expansion and knowing that courage is a journey, just like life.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you ever so much for sharing all that. And it's true, just to have the courage to be who you are and to also to be, to take help. Sometimes we need the help from different communities, different people, when we don't feel that we've got the support out there, but just to, to step into who we really are. So thank you for sharing that, Soulara. Now, as we are wrapping up, can you believe it? We are now almost at the top of our hour, and I'd like to just go around one last time for all our beautiful presenters here who have been talking, who have spent their last hour sharing their words of wisdom, all about how to be courage and to have courage, to develop courage and to overcome fear. So let's start with you, Soulara, and please first let us know if you have any giveaways, how people can contact you, anything about, how you can help others in becoming courageous, to step into their courage. And I'd also like to know, just very quickly, if you could just share one thing for your personal life. How does having the courage to be fearless has helped you in your life to live a more fulfilling life, a more meaningful life?
Thank you for the opportunity to share this part of my story. So for the earlier part of my life, I thought that I was going to be a medical physician. I studied really, really hard in school, and I was just really set on a path to become a psychiatrist, actually. And if you can imagine from, a very young age going up until graduation, scholarships and selecting schools and all kinds of things were gearing me towards medicine. I got there to the university in my pre-med program, and I found out what it would actually take. I found out about residency and just kind of that self-sacrifice to that extent. Something within me said no. Something within me at that point in my young life knew that that was not the path for me, that that was too much of self. It was almost like self-sacrificing on a level that I knew was not going to be beneficial for me. And at that time, I didn't know that I was an empath, but I just knew that that was not the thing for me to do. Yes. So at that time, I felt pretty lost. If you can imagine, just so many years and programs and preparation for medicine to get to the door, basically, and then just to not turn the knob, just to say, I'm going to walk away. So I ended up changing my major and, just being a general psychology. And of course, I had to have a lot of courage to stand up, to my mom, who was questioning me and saying like, basically, what are you doing? Like, this was your life's plan. And, I really felt lost. I really felt like, am I making the right decision? And as I said, everything had been set up for me to go on this path. And it took a lot of courage to step away from that and to embrace this aspect of freedom that I didn't really know how to interpret at the time, but I knew that I had to be free to have flow and ease, and to end up being a Reiki master teacher where I'm flowing and, helping to unblock energies in people makes a lot of sense to me now. So for me, it was just finding my way through the darkness of the time frame of college, and then where I am now. I would say it was over 2 decades of just trying different scenarios. Ended up still working in healthcare, but then at the end of the day, I said, I have to tune into the soul. I channeled just to download that everything that I do is related to the soul. So I had to embrace that. I had to understand that what I have gone through can actually help someone, and realizing that it's okay to let something go that's not really serving you and pursue a higher calling. So for me, it was just about finding my way. And so I found my way. And as I said, courage is a lifelong process. So I've embodied courage and just taking it day by day and sharing my wisdom and the information that I learned with my clients and those who I'm blessed to connect with.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So with Soul Reiki, that's what I do. I empower individuals to really connect with their inner wisdom and just embrace their enoughness. And once that's done, the client can really unlock their true potential, just really remembering who they are.
Yeah.
It helps to boost their confidence and just embracing their own values and strengths and identifying and leveraging their unique abilities. And so with that, I offer my Soul Worth It signature program. It's a 9-week program, and it's really designed to help individuals just really embrace that, as I said, enoughness, that true self-worth. There's a process of Reiki for 9 weeks and private groups and weekly calls and things of that nature, where we're basically healing the mind, the body, and the soul, and helping everyone to come to that sense of self-awareness. That's where it all begins, is becoming aware of yourself, self-love, and self-acceptance. And so that's my main offering for today. The links will be in, you're welcome. I think the links will be in the chat.
Yes.
And I'm just looking forward to work with individuals who are ready to embrace their enoughness. And of course, I'm always available for individual Reiki sessions. And those sessions use traditional Reiki, but I also use my intuitive abilities that I can give practical insights on how to help you move from day to day and get to that goal.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for sharing that, the courage that you've had from, doing the medical field to stepping into who you are now. And the world is such a better place for you to have that courage. And we will certainly be putting your links in the comments all about your Soul Reiki. That is also that we are honoured to have in our business directory. That Soulara has her business in there. So we will be putting all that in. So thank you. And about your Soul Worth program too. Thank you for that. And Roger, what about you? Do you have something that you would like to share very quickly, because we are now running out of time, but something that you'd like to share about
my mission is really like Soulara, just getting people to embrace their authentic selves. And I do that either through my online program, which is called Your Last Development Program, or they can have a consultation with me. They can apply for that. All of that is on my website as well. And I just want to give something to folks so they can feel comforted in what they may be feeling they might be coming to, because that was my challenge my entire life. And like Soulara, I just kind of kept leaving things because I knew there was another direction, another place I was supposed to be. So I want people to understand that will go on for them, and whatever I can do to help them feel secure. So thank you for that. We will be putting all those links in the comments for people to connect with you and for your website and everything. Roger has a wealth of wisdom and opportunities on his website too, so do check out that. All right, and Katerina, what about your beautiful self? How has having courage helped you in your life? If there's one moment that you'd like to share, and do you have any gifts or any offers for our audience that we are putting in the comments?
Yes, thank you. My courage was to volunteer to go into my own darkness and learn how to overcome my life, and then raise into my grandest light, so I can be courageous enough to share it with everybody. So when you sit with me, you receive my wisdom and knowledge and my personal experiences of how to get you to love all parts of you and empower yourself. I hold space for you to get to know your guidance. I will teach you how to have a conversation and how to connect and how to clean your energy, because that's very important, and how and who you are talking with is very important as well. You can find me in the community website. I have a program called Evolutionary Growth of Self. I meet you where you need to be at that given moment, and then we move forward into a much grander light. I'm a Reiki master, light language specialist. I have a crystal light bed that I can do on Zoom. I have a lot of, I will help you to embody your higher self so you can bring in the tools and the clarity and the understanding so you can retrieve all of you that is just waiting for you to bring and embody into this life. You can find me on Facebook, Be Your True Self, and all my links. And I have one-to-one, and I also do group sessions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. And yes, we are putting all your links in the comments because you offer various courses and programs. So that is really, really appreciated. Thank you, Katerina.
Thank you.
And our beautiful Sue. Tell us about Sue. I'd still like to give you a very quick opportunity. If there's one thing that has helped you in your life of having courage and how that has helped you. And then I'd also like to know about, of course, your amazing tribe.
Okay. Well, if I look back on my life, I've noticed that I've been challenged all the way along to always find my courage, always step into it, never give up on it. But I've also noticed that it seems to come in sequences. So for me, my greatest challenges seem to come in 10-year sequences.
Mm-hmm.
And every 10 years, something shows up. I've had 4 or 5 opportunities to choose to live over choosing to give up and die, when basically I was told, you might not make it through the night. You might want to say goodbye now. And I always basically come back and go, nope, not the right time, coming back. And I've done whatever it took to bring myself back. And I find this comes in sequences. And I don't think I'm the only one. So for people listening to this, if you're going through an issue, if you're not finding your courage, understand that you have a choice, and you can make that choice to stay or to go, to give up or to keep going. Step into your power. So find your courage with all the tools that everybody here has offered you. You've got a whole treasure box. So that's number one. Number two, if you want to discover how I help people to find their courage, give them the tools to step into that courage, teach them how to fish, become courageous on their own. They can visit either of my 2 websites. One is called, of course, courageouspath.com, or the other one is overwhelmmasterclasses.com. They connect to each other. On both of those websites, you are offered a free discovery session, which is valued at around $295. And we talk all about you, what it takes to get you courageous to get through your issues. And you get a next steps blueprint that is takeawayable. It's written down. You can work with it with me in the future or any other coach that suits you, because you've got your next steps. And you get an MP3 of the recording of our conversation. If we do it on Zoom, it's an MP4. So you never miss out on a single moment. You don't have to spend time writing your notes. My future programs, at the moment, I am beta testing Calm the Overwhelm Masterclasses.
Yeah.
And it's in process. It actually starts tomorrow. And it'll be offered again through Courageous Path, through Sacred You, late June, early July, for anybody else that wants to inquire about it.
Okay.
I am Life Force Activators tribe host here on Sacred You, where we get really neck deep, eyebrow deep, top of your head deep, soul deep, in getting you totally turned on to being the most vibrant, most exciting person to yourself in life. And that attracts every other person that wants to be in your world, because they want to feel that vibrancy. And it's fun, and it's different on every session. We meet fortnightly.
It is
On Tuesdays.
On Tuesdays, Tuesdays in the Eastern, in the Northern Hemisphere, Wednesday mornings.
That's true.
Here
Yes.
in the Southern Hemisphere. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Sue. And thank you all. Seriously, thank you, Sue. Thank you, Katerina. Thank you, Roger. And thank you, Soulara, for giving up your time and sharing your passion, your wisdom about how we could be courageous and courage to help us overcome fear and to be fearlessness. So thank you. And as Sue was mentioning, Sue's the host of the Life Force Activators Tribe here in Sacred U. We have over 25, I think there's about 27 tribes, special interest tribes that you can join today for $1 Australian. Just $1 Australian, and you get to try out all those tribes, any of the tribes, for 3 weeks as a trial period. Then after that, it's just $15 Australian a month. Don't recommend joining them all straight away. Definitely recommend joining Life Force Activators. But the great thing about the membership is you can join tribes on an ongoing basis and stuff. But do it today, because tomorrow is our very last program for our launch, which is Mind, Manifestation and Magic. And then after that, all the 3 weeks trial period will come down to 2 weeks, and the $15 Australian will go up to $20 Australian. So do get in now. Click on the links below that our beautiful Angel has been putting in. Check us all out, and do contact these amazing people, and so they could share their wisdom, their experience with you to help the world to develop the courage to overcome the fear and to shine the light on our world. So thank you so much. It's been a real honor.